to what your authority's mandate is. The procurement agency can cancel contracts. That's not that's inconvenient for everybody. It's not ideal. That's why the regulation you read to us is like the same. However, your own act is telling you, that procurement agencies have to meet certain criteria to be able to conduct any procurement. Clause 51 of the GPPA Act says that for specialized procurements, there should be a specialized procurement unit. And I think there is a form that they need to fill for you to be able to know, because in that alone, if at all they fail in that, they can fall short of compliance. And I can read that no problem. A specialized procurement unit shall be staffed with personnel who are well trained in public procurement and whose professional qualifications meet the requirement that may be established in accordance with guidance to be issued by the authority. So here we are talking about ecologists. I think it is a responsibility of GPPA to ensure that those involved in the contrast committee have the specialties to be able to guide this process. Did you establish that? Instead of advising them and trying to help them also make sure they meet the standards, did you check that particular provision to make sure that that was in place?
But at that time, I can say I don't at the time, because the way we operate, some information you can only get them if you visit a particular institution. For example, if you review, you do the procurement transaction. You understand? The composition of this contrast committee, it is defined in the Act, as you rightly know, and you just highlighted the establishment of the SPU. So for me, as an officer at that time, that committee has already been set, before I reviewed this file. And during my visit for the procurement audit, at this time, that's the time you can observe all these issues and write a report. That's after the end of the year. So the procurement law is designed in such a way that, our time of intervention sometime, because you cannot, they send, at that time you are not required to provide with the qualification of your staff at that time. It's only if you go for the review, that's the time you can now review the procurement files and knows what they are doing. And
so, in other words, you are saying to us that it is the responsibility of the procurement agency to ensure that they have the specialized
procurement unit with the required qualification.
Not yours. Yours is to review
and then
to make findings.
Make findings.
And if there are any wrongdoings,
yes,
you incorporate that.
We approve, yes, and then we recommend.
And which I want to believe that that's what you're telling us is the case. In your audit, you did find certain gaps.
Yes.
Because you didn't find an SPU, do you? With the requisite
no, because the time of the audit, the one who headed the SPU was a SIPS holder. He was having SIPS, and his assistant also was trained by GPPA at the time. On is it certificate level. So the qualification was clearly indicated in the report.
Do they have any specialty in ecologists?
No, at the time, I don't.
Shouldn't that be a concern?
Yeah, it should be a concern. Definitely, they should have, definitely, because I believe Because I also believe that for them they have technicians among them. That's why their contrast committee was not only centered to as dictated in the Act. They also have other members, who they are working there. It is the duty of their management to ensure that they bring in members who have the understanding of the procurement that they want to do, to help them in the design and order. Because if in this one they have to hire a consultant to do that for them. So I may not know whether at that time they have an expert on ecology, because this process started during the process, that's the time I was, assigned to go there and do an audit exercise, in which I.
Just last one. Yes. Just, would you be surprised if I tell you that the whole concept of this ecologies was developed by product development staff, but they were not part of the class? Is that news to you, or is that something you picked up now on your audit? Thank you very much. We can go on.
You've informed us that you did conduct an audit exercise, and a report was generated. Will be the part of the document that will be sent to National Assembly for further scrutiny, or can we be previewed to a copy of that report? Committee.
Yes, I was assigned to review the GT board on the 18th to the 22nd of March.
Which year?
2019. This letter was dated on the 5th of March 2019, and it was sent to the GT board, informing them that a team will come, will be there to do the audit exercise for the 2017 and 2018 procurement transfer conducted by the year ended December 31st. So I headed the team. We visited there with the team of, we are how many in number? I and other 4 people, 4 of us. So we joined, as I said, there as a team. So the time we went there, the managing director, the director general was not there. So we met the director of finance, and then we introduced ourselves and our mission. So we started the exercise. We came with the view to do the audit for 2 years. That's 2016 and 2017. So when we started the process, before we completed 2017 alone, there were so many issues, so many documentation that we find it very difficult to have access to. And they were scanty, so cumbersome. So in fact, we have to suspend 2018 and only review the 2017 audit. So during that time, we do due diligence to our work. We have visited, we also do physical verification, sometimes of the assets that they bought in various offices. Unfortunately, time could not allow us to go outside because of some of that nature. And then we also do interview with some of the key personnel who are involved in the procurement process. So during that time, we were able to gather so many information and so many loopholes in the system at GT board itself, that some of them they don't even understand their role as a contrast committee. And then the formation of the contrast committee also, the formation of the contrast committee, for us what we look at, once those 3 members that are hired up as dictated in the act, you understand? So unless when the need arrives, they can invite a technical person to assist them, but if they want, they can expand the so at that time, during the we observed that. So I went back, then I wrote a report, and even my report, I also observed that even the finance director was the chairman of the contrast committee, which was a conflict of interest. And we discussed it, we debated, trying to challenge it at a certain level. So we went back and write a report, and that was shot in the report. And that report was sent to the National Assembly here, and it was read. And even in the report, that's where in fact we recommend for the training of the contrast committee, so that they can be also trained, so that they know they are right. That was the recommendation that I did after the exercise. So after that, they also invite GPPA, the training department, to go and train them. A training was conducted, and some of the feedback I get from the trainees, they even told me that at the whole, even some of the members, they don't know if they are right. If you don't agree on certain decision, you should not sign or not. That was just between me, and it was just feedback from them. So I tell them that was the reason. That's what I observed.
You know what that means to me?
No.
All those years, the whole taxpayers' money they have been spent irresponsibly by the institution.
By
Failing to have in place a functional, well-equipped, well-capacitated contrast committee only means the taxpayer is not getting value for money for the public services that they deserve. So anyway, I just thought I...
all right, thank you, John. Yes, Honorable, so we can proceed here.
Yes, sorry. I just want to know whether you were part of the training. You proposed the training for them. Did you actually participate in the training?
no.
To help them?
No, I don't participate.
You did not help them?
Yeah, the reason why there's a specific training team, and sometimes if you are free or you don't have any other engagement, then they can help you and you go on the system. Sometimes you can be on the training, sometimes you cannot be on the training. We have different trainings and we give chance to us. But in this particular training, maybe I was on the engagement that I was not privy to attend this training.
Okay. Thank you very much. We can now proceed.
Yeah.
What are the peculiar characteristics of this contract, taking into consideration that the building of the ecologies requires a specific expertise? What would you look at as specific, considering the construction of the said ecologies? What would you have looked into that will compel you either to approve or to regulate with regards to the construction of the said ecologies?
Like I said before, there was criteria that was set for individual and that was approved.
Oh.
That's what I use. Those are the basis that I use to look at in the our decision.
You've looked at those information that was furnished to you.
Yes.
Were you convinced, making reference to the regulations of the laws, that what was provided was actually right and did meet the requirements to influence your decision?
Well, I have a brief record of all their solutions, all what they have and what they also lack. Some of them, they have key issues. They have made some of them, their solution did not meet the key issues that was as highlighted in the bidding document, in the approved bidding document. For example, if I look at one of the bidder, like Santayala, they have provided almost most of the requirement, but they did not respond to the payment term, and also their innovative solution. They don't talk anything about the innovative solution. So if you look at the other bidder, the equipment, in fact, he don't have an equipment. What he have was to partner. He has an agreement with someone who will hire him the equipment that will make development anytime they want the equipment. So, and some of them, they don't even have the requirement of the past, like the past experience, value of $10 million. And some of them, they provide just a list, and they don't provide evidence. In most of the, if you award a contract, it must have to be a signed contract. But most preferably, if at all you have a certificate of completion, in which one of the bidder provide certificate of completion of a work that they have done with a high value, and some of them did not provide a contract document. They only provide a list that I have do this, I have do this, I have do this, and the issue of some of them that even have equipment, they even provide equipment that they can able to do this work, and so some of them they don't have they do not have the payment term. So one of the suppliers provide a kind of a sample of the drawing, which shows you that innovative, but he did not have any similar contract. He did not have any absence of payment term, no innovation, no letter of intent. So, and some of them also, the equipment payment term, there are a lot of them who do not provide those key things in the submission. Understand? So based on the summit, this was an open tender, whereby people, they will bid, and the competition is based on the approved bidding document. So we look at the one who respond almost all, if not both, the substantial, who respond substantially to the requirements stated in the bidding document. So in this case, if you look at that, we have observed the one they recommend have substantially met over the others. Then we will is the most responsive per se, yes. Yeah. Then we say, okay, they are in line. So in this case, their submission they provided, if you look at technically and financially, one of the bidders happened to be the most responsive, and in which they quoted the highest price. So that's the reason why we assume then this work, they are very critical work, and it needs, it needs a specialized somebody who can do the job, because no one is, quality is important in this work. So that's our assumption was the guy who demonstrate that he have all the capacity and who have the proof happened to be the most responsive. So we allowed them to go and negotiate with them, and also to involve the service of an engineer who will assist them, making some observation on the submission, like I said before, that will be able to review so many things. So that they can also have the true picture of what is happening, of the
Yes. Right. The initial estimates was 12.5 million by the engineer.
No, the costed BOQ they provided was 11 point, yes. 11, yes.
Then you, somewhere, somehow, you use the service, you hire the service of Sehma Fus, another engineer, a second engineer,
yes,
who came up now with a magic number of 19 million. Is that correct? You hire the service. So, well, the board hired the service now of an independent engineer, Sehma Fus, yeah, who came up now with 19 million to be able to do the job. My point is, none of these bidders, if I understand, met all the 8 criteria. They all failed to, achieve 100% of what is asked. So definitely, there are certain criteria that some excel over the others, but none of them actually were able to achieve 100% what was required. So experience as far as building ecologies in the Gambia, I'm sure was one of those where they will actually fail, because I don't think we have any experience of such. I might be wrong. You can tell me if I'm wrong. That any of those contractors did build an ecology in the Gambia here. Okay, so definitely that's discounted for all of them. However, you mentioned about other capacities, and fulfillments, as far as the criteria are concerned. If you say innovative solution, what does that mean? Innovative solution, to be a part of the criterion that you have to meet as a supplier.
Here, I don't know much about this, but all the good thing I understand is, the one is, these are to bring some added value, to my understanding, bring some added value on the issues and try to bring some innovation that may be applicable, in your submission. For example, this is what the requirement said, and then you can bring in another requirement that at least you can innovate something that may even attract, the contracting authority, to look at it. That's the innovation.
Does you understand?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, sorry, so now you said the initial price that was set by your first engineer was 11.2 million.
Yes.
He said 11 million.
11 million. 11.2. Yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah. However,
in fact that scheme.
However,
That was submitted.
Mr. Sanyang
Yes.
of the Mr. Sanyang of GPPA advised or told this committee that it was 12.5 million. So I want to ask now, from your point of view, which is which? The initial estimates of the ecologists. You're saying it's 11 million or 11.2 million. But Mr. Sanyang, who I think understanding now is either your boss or something, said no, it was 12.5 million. So we want you to clarify for us, where is this 11 million coming from? Because as far as the petition itself is concerned, they also mentioned 12.5 million. But maybe you can enlighten us, because you played an active role in this whole process. You can tell us maybe why that 11.something million is there.
Okay, this costed BOQ came upon the request of Jabil. And I remember someone asked me whether it involved contingency or other things. I said no, I don't know unless I find out. But I have from the document, I have seen a total of 11 million. Hopefully, it could be an order, like you can say, 1% contingency and stuff like that, which is part of it that I may oversight. But I have to clarify. Can you furnish this committee with that document, please? Yes, I can do that. Please,
yes. Yeah. When would you like to do that? When is convenient for you?
In fact, tomorrow I can provide it. Is
that convenient for you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Supplementary question?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to clarify this. Among all these bidders, none of them saw experience in building ecology in the country. Did any of them show experience? None of them saw experience.
But the bidding document said similar. If at all it says specific experience, then you cannot award it to anybody who don't have the specific experience.
Okay.
But in the bidding document said similar contract. So there's a difference between similar and specific. So in similar contract, if you do any construction things, that's assumed as a similar contract.
Did any of them do a similar contract in the country?
Yes, they have. Some of them did so many constructions, in the country, and like I said before, some of them give a proof that a certificate of completion, and some of them only list. Some of them bring signed contract documents. That's what they're showing, yes.
And then, apart from Lair Group, these other bidders, did they show any proof?
Yes, some of them show proof. Yes, that's the truth.
So again, again, as you said, in your assessment, you have to look at who is more responsive, and it seems one of the bidders have prior experiences in building ecologies, and for some they have meet some requirements now, but fail on other areas. In as much as he said is the last of the criteria, price was very important to the petition, because there's a variance of $10 million. And against your recommendation of the GPPA, why do you think, in your opinion, because this is just seeking your opinion, that the GT board would find it necessary to not only give all the 5 contracts to one contractor, but to even go with the highest bidder?
As I said before, this contract committee, also they have their own power to make decisions. And looking at the bidding document, if at all it was clearly indicated that they cannot bid more than one lot, then there should be. bidding document that was not the approved bidding that was not indicated. So meaning that a bidder can be in board lot. Looking at the time frame given, the work plan, they demonstrated, some of them demonstrated on how to do the work at that specific period of time, most of them, and others, in fact, give only like 6-month period or less to do that. And the fact of the matter is, GT board decision, they recommend that for them they recommend the most responsive. We observed some issues as an officer and highlight them and forward it to the management. Management take decision.
Can you enlighten us? What are some of those observations you as an officer?
Well, because after when when the consultant was hired, he observed so many irregularities in the submission, starting from the BOK itself, that was initially provided, and they make some adjustment as per in the requirement in the ecology itself, and that was highlighted. For me as an officer, that's what I highlight. And I have told you before, you might be given that I don't want to repeat that every time, you understand? So it's your duty to write, to ensure that you get the fact. And as an officer, that's what I do. I ensure that I highlight all the issues forwarded to management, and management take decision.
All right. From what you have highlighted and observed, did you come across certain anomalies that about if you are in a position of managing, you have refused? If you have such issues that you think management should have refused in the best interest of the taxpayer?
Well, yes. Even for me alone, even at the initial stage, therefore of the bidding document, yeah, I should have definitely questioned that. And also, looking at this in the area of fair play, you have to reconsider this to be like a retendering issue on a correct procurement.
Yeah, I'm getting. I'm following this.
So, yeah, so this is so this is what it should have been, because in the tendering process, if you observe certain things at a certain stage, though the contract committee may also be running out of time, and also they have already identified the most responsive, starting by the process may also consider the lead time of the procurement, the risk of the price increasing and all stuff like that. Sometimes people can consider that. You understand? And maybe that's the management we are looking at, and then they but as an officer, I definitely highlight all the issues that have been.
If we get it clearly, surely your mandate and job was well specified. But the rest to you is the prerogative of the top manager to comply with your recommendations or otherwise. Is that correct? All right, thank you. Sorry, but he wants me to flatter. All right, I think one of your diseases was addressed by Honorable. Unfortunately, he's going for exams, so perhaps we can permit him. Yeah, exams. Yeah, unfortunately, so we can proceed.
Mr. Jalba, I'm interested to know the initial amount that was recommended by the GPPA. Your initial amount that you recommend to the board or the contract committee.
The file definitely, I can remember it was almost 5 submissions between GPPA and 5 submissions between GPPA and the GT board, and the final one the approval was given at 19,424,440 dollars. That was what was approved at the time. At the time I was being asked the action officer at the file.
That is the threshold.
That was the threshold, and this threshold is derived from a recommendation from the consultant that was hired after making so many observations. Yes, and the contrast committee of the duty board with the consultant, they all write the report and sign and agree to this decision. And this decision was forwarded, and the decision was 19 million, as I said before.
Yes. Now, for me, as a layperson, I'm just thinking that if that is the threshold, and this is done by engineers, I wouldn't go beyond that threshold. And what would because you've been advising them, have you advised them that they should not go beyond the threshold?
I was advising them on because he said I've been advising them on which area.
No, you said you provide some advice here and there. Like
the correspondent
for training and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
That
was
so
recommendation.
Have you also advised them?
No, well, as
not going beyond the threshold.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, as my responsibility as an action officer, we can only have privy to the file when they are admitted to us to do actions. I last to see this file when that approval was granted, at 19.something million. After that, I don't, because some of the correspondence is between the management and the records, so we don't have access to those correspondence anytime we feel like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it means that when the threshold was mentioned, that's when you ceased to participate in the process.
Yes, the final approval, when it was granted, that's the time I
mean the threshold of 19
yes, 19 million, yes. And they were in the letter, they were also advised to hire and also engineer consultant in that letter to do the design review and the supervision. And we also advise them to bring back that anybody they hire should also be approved by us, so that we will know the time of engagement, on how he will go.
Is that the same Mahfouz and whatever?
Well, I cannot remember the consultant name.
But that's the Lamin Jata.
No, this time around we advise them to use an engineer consulting firm to carry out the design review. So Lamin may not be the one who is doing it, because hence he's the one who review the BOQ and do others. Instead of he might not be the one who will do it. This we also advise. I will also advise them to bring in someone who will also monitor the job, to review the design that was provided and also to supervise the work. But we also advise them to send us anyone whom they identify should be approved by us before they proceed.
But did they do that?
No, that was not done. This was my last conversation.
That was your last engagement?
Last engagement with them. After that.
So which means you wouldn't know why the GPPA changed their position. You wouldn't know that.
No,
from 19 million.
No, I don't know.
Or from 12.5 million to 19 million. You wouldn't know.
No, I wouldn't know.
Now, I want to take you back a bit.
Yes.
You've told this committee that the witness, that the contract committee has certain powers to make decisions.
Yes.
Now the question is, would you like to tell us whether such powers of the contract committee overrides the powers of GPPA in terms of this procurement? If yes, where is the authority coming from?
Well, if at all their decision is not in line with the approved bill law, GPPA can say no, then we can also approve. Because all the decisions that they decided should be in line with the approved documents. In an event that it is not in line with the approved documents, then we will not take any decision. We might say no, and then it's left to them to proceed or not.
But we are informed.
Yes.
By Mr. Sanya, your boss.
Exactly.
That when they brought the final decision, the GT board brought the final decision of awarding this contract to Land Group at 22 million. Nothing was done about it. It was just put in the file. It was not surprising. There was no action, nothing. And you were not the action man at that time, so you wouldn't know.
No, all I know, the history of GPPA, whenever informal communication is made, they normally respond. Most of the formal communication is respond. But at some time, when we requested to bring, for example, we have reviewed your bidding document. We have seen you have missed one or two important things that we will ask you, please, you have to amend and submit it for our record before you advertise or before you invite the bidders to put the bidding document. So in that case, if it reaches us as an officer, all we are interested of to know the approved bidding document at our custody. Any changes they made at our custody. So in some instance, we can just note. In an event that they did not fulfill our advice, then we have to write back. You did not fulfill this, why? Then you have to write back and then to ensure that they have adhered to your advice. Because it's that bidding document, that's what you will use. For some of the awards, all I know, some of them, they can easily notify you on the awards. You understand? They can write and notify you on awards. I have award this. That's it. But when it's reached us as an officer, also for me, I will know exactly whether there is a need for me to write back or there is a need for just to note, depending on the circumstances of that submission.
But if the threshold is, for example, threshold set by the GPPA, approved threshold is 19 million. And then the contract committee decides to go far above that by, say, another 3 million, 22 million. Would that trigger your action to write back to say, well, this is an anomaly? What happened when you were there? For example, if you are aware of that, would you just file that and note it, or would you write back to them to show them the anomaly?
Such have never come to my table, but definitely, if at all it's with me, I would have to clarify more. Because
let me establish this. Are you telling us that you were aware of such action?
He was not. He said. He said he stopped.
Okay. That's why he stopped. But if I told this file with me at that defense of approval, I would have write them to say for clarification. On the normal school, that's the good practice.
From your experience, would you like to tell us that was a normal thing or abnormal thing? If the GPPA gives an approved at the same, an institutional goes against that, and it's just been ignored, is that something normal or abnormal?
Maybe they have anything which whereby the reason why, but it should have been requested for the clarification.
Would you say that that would be an oversight of the GPPA?
Of the GPPA?
For not responding or for not asking them to clarify, or it's an oversight? Would you say it's an oversight?
Yeah, it could be, because for me, I don't know.
Or would you say it's deliberate?
I cannot say much because I don't see the letter and I don't know the content of the letter. What did the letter contain? Maybe sometime the letter can say, or they might have some certain explanation. It could have been better if I saw the letter itself and able to now interpret exactly there was a need for an urgent response. If they don't respond, it could be an oversight. But all I know, the accounting, all the letter passed through the accounting officer, and it's come down to the management at the stop at a certain level. When it reaches us, we have the right to take decision. It doesn't reach us, sometimes we don't. We have so many.
But my problem is, I thought the action officer would be the first person, because it's like you are the go-between between the contracts committee or the GT board and the GPPA. But then you are not. This period did not find me. Where were you?
I was in the office. You know the way things work there.
Did they change your position?
No, the way things works there. If a submission is submitted to the Director General, he will bring it down to the Director of Policy, and the Director of Policy will minute it to the Director of Compliance. And the Director of Compliance will assign any of the action officers. With the action officers, we have different action officers. You understand? So if they minute it to you, then the record will bring it to you, and you will sign for that, and you take actions on that. But in an event that it didn't reach you, it reached a stop at that level, definitely we don't know anything about it, and it didn't reach us, so we didn't take any action.
Mr. Chair, would you like to affirm to us the procedure taken? Because normally you said you are the action officer. Any such correspondence, if there's a change in this decision, it comes to you and you give your advice.
Yes.
And the top man there decides at the end of the day. But you are informing us that you are not aware of such decisions, which went against approved selling of 19 to 22 million.
He's not aware of it.
What I'm saying here.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
But was there any action? You are not in the office, you mean, or you were there, but then you did not see such correspondence?
No, the way things work there. Sometimes you are very busy.
What?
An urgent letter can come. They can press urgent letter in the office, whereas you are at the National Assembly here on assignment, or you are on trade. The exercise or travel, then they will meet another action officer to take actions. So we only act upon being minuted a file, and it will be from records. That will bring it, and then you receive and sign. So you don't take action on a file that you are not minuted to. You don't even have preview to look at that, because sometimes you are very busy.
How many action officers do you have in your office?
Well,
within the context of this contract,
that were involved in this particular process.
In this particular process,
yes.
Well, someone started, then I completed, and then I stopped at.
I thought you said Jamil.
Jamila started it.
Yeah, Jamil.
The bidding document. He approved the bidding document. He's an action officer.
Okay.
We have almost 6 or 7 or more. I cannot remember exactly, but we have more than 7 action officers. More than 7 action officers.
Would you like to provide this committee with the list information of names of those action officers?
But before that, I think it would be interesting to know the people the action officers that were involved in this particular.
In this particular procurement, I think it's only me and Jamil who were involved.
So, but when this final award was given to Lair Group,
yes,
that decision, when that letter comes, that decision, you were not aware of that.
It didn't reach me.
It did not reach.
Yeah, it didn't reach me. So I cannot take any action of something that doesn't reach me.
So let me ask you, if, for example, you are, instead of, you know, this is government and this is GT board, it's not you. But if it were you, and then somebody offered 19 million, or the GT board said 19 million, would you go and negotiate and go above the 19 million when you have other people, other companies that are saying they could build this for 16 million, they could build it for 12 million, etc. And engineers also say it could be built for 12.5. Would you still go ahead and give a contract to somebody at 22 million? You wouldn't do that.
Unless,
why? Why not?
No, because it could be what is approved, what the engineer estimates, what is be approved. That's the final thing. Because that's what they send us.
Yeah.
That's what the contracts committee recommend.
Yeah.
And sign. And there were so many members who were present during the time.
Yeah.
And they all have their signature there. So that information is the final information that we have. So they don't have right to proceed to the next level without notify us or at least giving us a justification. That warrants, for the adjustment of that price. But what like I said before, I don't even see the letter.
You said that.
I don't know the content of the letter. Absolutely. So all what I'm saying here is just my own assumption.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we've clarified all that up to, we can move on. I think we can deal with the 14, huh? You read it. Because Mr. Jallo's activity stopped, some did not go all the way down.
So I would like to inform this August committee. Did you visit GTO office during the course of this meeting process?
Thank you very much, Chairman. GT board, for us, we visit so many offices on official mission. On official mission. And most of the time, in all of the official mission, they are formally communicated. GT board, my entire GPPA career, I visit there only once, that during this audit exercise, whereby they were informed and I was assigned to lead the team. And that was on the, let me refer to the letter before. From the 18th March, Monday, to 22nd March, on Friday. That's the time I did my exit meeting with them and I left.
18th March to
22nd March. So if anybody can bring out other evidence that I visit there after this period, that's not true. And also, in fact, when I left there were some documents that were not fully submitted to us. In fact, some of them were submitted through email because lack of time. I don't have time, so they submit this. I received an email from one secretariat submitting some documents that I requested for them for their fuel and medical bill. But that was submitted through email. The day I left there, I have never set my foot in that authority, in that board. I don't know much people on there, and I've never been there. If they can provide, I would be very pleased if at all they have CCTV or they can give me a proof. I've saw it, and which definitely it pains a lot. I'm a young professional and I do my work with due diligence. You cannot just come and trying to, without getting the facts, and try to just give false information about me. This is a real deformation of character. I'm aware and I know. The petitioners, no, I'm coming.
We want you to answer the question.
No. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. That's why don't follow.
You are clean until you are proven otherwise. I was saying is to establish the facts.
Yeah. And I've never been.
And not the faults, exactly.
I've never been there.
Exactly.
And then, even the training, I was not there. I visited there this period of time. After that, and that was the only time
18 to 22nd March,
yes.
2020?
18 to 22nd March 2020. I visited there twice on audit. Some of them
2020.
Yes, I go there for bid opening. Some of them I go there for training. Some of them I go there for meeting. But duty board happens to be, that's my only one visit. That's it. So
No. You visited between the 20th for a purpose, or official purpose?
Yes, it was an official.
18th to the 22nd.
Yes,
an official purpose.
Yes, and that was a letter. They been sent to GPPA.
No, but you are saying you visited them once, so that's why. But 18th to the 22nd is about 4 days, so that cannot be once.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, then
only visit is confined within that period.
Within that period, within 18 to 27.
So beside that, you've not visited, and before that, you have not.
No.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is that.
So which means all your engagement with them, it is they who come to the office, but not you.
Through email?
No, engagement with them. In fact, they have never come to the office in this particular procurement issues. The only thing I know, when I sent them the draft report, I heard that they have visited the management, visited the authority regarding this report, in which they were asked to write formally, to respond to the report formally, and which they do. And when I finalized the report, my boss asked me to send, he instructed me to send the soft copy to their finance manager through email. That will also send through email, and also have the date that's sent through email. He acknowledged receiving it, and he even asked me, can you kindly provide me with the acts and the regulation of the GPPA, which I also forwarded to him, so that he can also, because the queries that was made, they also have to find the act and the regulation that he can respond.
At the end of the day, were you privy to the more talk about contract that was awarded to Lair for the construction of the said 5 eco lodges?
Chairman, no. From that end, I'm done with it. For us, we are so busy to extend that we don't even have time. The workload is just too high on us.
Yes, I think we move. Mr. Delta, we are informed that one of the reasons that motivated people to award their is because they were going to refinance the construction of these lodges. That's why they have been all the 5 lodges. Do you in any way come across that information?
As far as I'm concerned, and the document submitted, that was not indicated as a criteria. It was not. It was payment plan which was provided to us. And it was not part of the submission that indicated that because you're going to pre-finance, that's the reason why it's out of the contract. That was not part of the submission.
That was not part of it.
I've never came across that. I've never heard it anywhere.
You've never heard it?
I've never heard it.
And you've not also come across information that senior staff of the GPPA were very much dissatisfied with this award, because they know from, like I said, from 12.5, which is changed to 19 million, now to 22 million, they raised voice. And through that, some of them were even reprimanded. You are not aware of that also? You did not hear any information about it?
Well,
Some were removed, I think the chairman, and some were given half salary and holiday. Some were posted to very funny locations in the provinces to punish them and to take them away. You've not heard of that information?
Yeah, I heard something like that, but not in detail in the social medias. I've read something like that.
Something.
I've not find out. I don't go into detail to find out this surrounding that thing. Yeah, but I was aware, I heard about it on social media. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to take you back, Mr. Jan. During your service, you mentioned following your consolidation observation with reference to the contrast committee. You've discovered actually the said contract committee lacks the necessary expertise to do their job. And you did mention that. Was it that during your report, or did you write to them communicate? Because you are a regulatory body that makes it actually every procurement institution should have SPU, specialized procurement unit, should have a contract committee that is in fulfillment with the regulations. Did you communicate to them to indicate to them our findings are did, and that you must make sure that you put that in their right perspective?
At that time, I did. The reason why their contrast committee was already been established, and their establishment is in line with the law, some of them, and it was their duty to go and to bring ad hoc members who have the knowledge.
Okay.
What I was saying is, their members, to my view, they lack understanding on this procurement process.
All right, okay.
You understand?
All right.
So
I'll get you right.
that was the reason why I said, in order to assist them, why can we guide them and install a expert who will assist them on the process?
All right.
So that was my advice.
All right.
And that advice, the revelation come that they observe so many abnormalities in the field. And that's what I heard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. Honorable members, SMS, unless someone has further questions. Just bear me for a second. Mr. Jallo, following your engagement and involvement in the whole process, would you be surprised to see that the contract, the 5 lots, was eventually awarded to Lair Group?
Well,
if you were the approving authority, provided you have the power to do so, what would you have done?
at the time, I'm working on an authority, and whatever we do should be in line with the accountability document. So once that is established, and all due diligence is done in the process, approval is granted. For me, they can proceed if the authority approve in line with the procurement law. You understand? But in this case, I can say all the procurement process, I have told you my observation that I have made, and I have forwarded to management. So that's where I can stop. I cannot move any further than that.
Just one gray area that I want Mr. President. You know, you said the chairperson or the chairman of the GT board was initially part of the contract committee, or playing a role in the contract committee.
Yes,
Director fine. And then you put it to them. That's not supposed to be,
yes,
as per the laws. My question is, after your advice, did status quo actually change, or did he remain? He continued to be part of the contracts committee, or they changed him?
Well, when I observed that during the audit exercise, I put it in my report. It was a query that he responded to, and that was forwarded to the National Assembly here for scrutiny, and the report was read over here. But after that, that's it. So if they change, normally they will communicate to the authority. So when it is not minuted to me, I may not know. So for us as action officers, it's just to recommend and give it to the authority. Or anybody, any of us can take decision. And it could be they have changed it, but it was not minuted to me. It was minuted to somebody else. I don't have privy to go to record unless they brought a file for me. After that, in fact, the guy who brought the file for you to take action, if you are done, you take it to the order to a different person. That's the guy who will respond for this file. So we may not know most of the correspondence coming. So all the correspondence I can through the Director General, then from there to the records, unless we are minuted to do actions. That's the time we have privy to those.
At least you are not aware.
That I'm not aware. From my records, I am not aware whether they have changed it or not. I'm not aware.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. In the absence of it's been a long day.
Except just want to
ask before he asks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to ask also. Did you see the minister playing any role in this whole process? Advising them or visiting them or discussing with them or whatever? Has he contributed to, in any way, to during this process of awarding contracts?
As far as I'm concerned, the document presented to me,
Yeah.
I didn't see any name concerning the minister, and he was part of the contracts committee. So the document I review, I don't see there the ministers play any action, any impact on the procurement process at the time.
Besides the documentation,
Okay.
that you don't see his NS, but personally, did he, in one way or one occasion, had interaction with you with reference to the particular issue? Right? Besides, because you've not seen any document where the minister, let's say, was said to have played a role. But besides the documents you've reviewed that show no indication of the minister, personally, did the minister, from your knowledge, personally had an engagement with you, reference to this project, or your knowledge of his interaction with any member of the GPPA? Thank you very much. Honorable members? Yeah. In the absence of any other, you want to ask for it? Or no?
It's just surprising that during this period, all these staff became are giving half salary, some are posted to funny places and all this. So, you know, it appears that the minister has some interest. That's why some of those things. But then you don't know. So there is no need for. Thank you for me. I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, honorable colleagues.
I think he has something to say.
He has something to say.
No, the only information I want to make is I have read my name. I saw my name mentioned all over, and friends will calling me family members concerned. Even those people who knows me as a professional are now trying to question about that integration. So the GT, the petitioners, the 6 members petitioners who write that statement against me, I think the committee should also help to ensure that they have proof that beyond all reasonable doubt. And they owe me an apology. They owe me a formal apology for that matter, because the information alleged against me is not true. I have never met the Director General himself. We have never sit and discussed. So it is a surprise to see that in the social media all over, saying that I have been helping the Director General and the Finance Director on their corrupt practice. If they don't understand the process, how things work, how this correspondence work, they should have make inquiries and inquire before they definitely destroy, publish my name in the media all over. That is very painful, and they owe me an apology. Or otherwise, it will not be easy just to defend somebody's character just like that, and it goes like that. So I don't know the committee mandate, what they can do about that, but definitely they should ensure that if that's the case, let them prove it or let them apologize immediately. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. As I said, within my preamble at the beginning, I said our job is to find.
Yes, thank you.
And report our recommendations to the president. So the job is incomplete. Whatever happens is based on allegations. We are not saying you are wrong, they are right. We did not say that. We are just trying to do our job according to law. So at the end of the day, our findings will establish something. Yeah. But to go further, I want to seize this opportunity to thank you very much indeed for coming.
But I think the report also, after our findings, our final report, we'll come up with issues like this. whatever is not true.
No, that's what I'm saying. The report is incomplete, exactly, yes. Of course, yes. Yes, just a bit busy. Yeah, because we don't want to preempt to say that they are wrong or you are right. Yes, right. The investigation is incomplete. It's at this infancy stage, and we will go ahead to do a job with due diligence, without fear or being prejudicial. No, we will not. We will not do that. We have the Quran once and swear that we will do our job according to law, and we will try to do it. Although we are human, but we will try to do our job to the best of our ability. But then to conclude, to thank you very much for coming, and of course to thank our friends, the media, who have been accompanying us throughout, because this is a public matter. But one of our functions is to look at issues which are of public interest and concern, and that the public needs to know. But we are not seeing anybody as wrong or right, because these are allegations and we have to establish the fact. So thank you very much, Mr. Jallo, honorable colleagues.
I think some of the documents that he has.
Yeah, exactly. We would, yes. If we like to furnish with those documents and any other relevant information that you want to offer us, because one of the documents was, if I mentioned, said you provided on Monday as well as Monday, if I could fully remember, maybe the clerk. The clerk will take note of that. So the media, thank you very much indeed, honorable colleagues. Thank you very much. Our able SMS. And I will clerk as well. We thank you very much for accompanying this PPC through this very, very rough journey. But all we intend to achieve at the end of the day is a good legacy that our country needs to basically. We need to do our job to make sure actually we take our country to the next stage. So thank you very much. Without much ado, I has a singular honor and pleasure to adjourn this public hearing to afford it. Mr. Jallo, if there's need for further consultation, if there need to be, so we thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. So the meeting stand adjourned.